What's up, guys? Bill here. Welcome back to another Watchlist walkthrough. Going to talk about Tesla and SPY today. Let's start with Tesla. This is a setup I shared yesterday on the Twitter. And basically what it was we came into today as an inside day on Tesla. And in this little bit of a short-term uptrend, getting tight in this triangle from the longer-term downtrend, the shorter-term uptrend. And I came into the day bullish on Tesla. I'll tell you a couple reasons why. One, we had started to put in a little bit of an uptrend here with lower highs and gapped up here. That gap was protected. And recently, the last, 10, 15 sessions, the days with the highest volume were all bullish, okay? And specifically this day here, where you put in a nice move, almost 5% day, closing near highs, big volume, and we rejected the top of the trend line. And that was actually a great place to go short. I'm not going to lie. But what I noticed is after a couple days of selling off, all on lower volume, we start to consolidate again back down by this support. So inside days, they can go either way. Like we could have lost this support down here, 231, and went and tried to fully fill this bull gap. That wouldn't have shocked me at all. But I felt better about calls here for a pop towards the top of the range again, as we'd been doing. Also saw some flow and things like this on trading ticks that were leaning bullish. And so, let's dig into these smaller time frames and talk about Tesla and how to execute on this inside day. If you guys have seen my inside day masterclass video, you might know what I'm going to say here. But essentially, I just talked about my thesis, right? I had a bullish thesis on Tesla today. And what's one way to play inside days besides the standard breakout or breakdown? Well, you play the range with a thesis, okay? And if my thesis is bullish, how am I going to want to play this range? I'm going to want a move down towards the bottom for an entry to play back up to the top of the range. This is your top and bottom, the purple lines, previous day's high, previous day's close. And as you can see, we got a little gap down here in Tesla in pre-market, and it started trading around our previous day's low. The last 15 minutes or so, it had reclaimed it and stayed above it. And so what I wanted to do, guys, was just literally take calls right off the open. We're sitting down here just 50 cents away from my level on Tesla. And I feel good about, as good as you can, about an off the open trade that I'm going to get, I might not get a better entry than this, right? Of course, it'd be great if it wicked down, maybe swept pre-market low and then bounced back up. But I could handle that much of a drawdown, right? Because my main target is 240. And that's a $7 move. Like, just risk to reward wise, even if I'm just aiming for 3 to 1, that means I can take a $2 to $2.50 drawdown, way down here almost, right? So it makes sense for me. And I always size a little bit smaller off the open. I'm not going to go full size because it is volatile and you can't really, you can't guarantee any move and then they happen quick, but just slapped calls right off the open there, guys. And, instantly in 5 minutes, your day's made just off that candle. I'm mainly targeting this zone here where we have previous day's high, the top of the inside day range, and that 240 GEX that's pulling price. Red GEX, negative GEX, pulls price. Green GEX rejects it, repels it, right? So one stick here. And at this point, obviously you're scaling into strength, or at least I am. I'll use whole numbers, whatever I need to do. 235 is a nice psych to trim at, right? And you get that pretty early on in the day. And then you're just trying to scale into strength, scale into your targets. And as you can see here, we start to flag decreasing volume, except for this candle here, which got a little weird. And a nice pop out. Now, the one thing I will say is I scaled a little heavier and earlier than I normally would because we had jolts at 7 o'clock Pacific time. That's what this candle is. I scaled out more up here. I was out about like 80 to 90% of my position here. And I wanted to be out 80 to 90% here. So I did not make as much money on this trade as I should have. But that's, sometimes when you're being extra risk averse and you're coming into a big news dump, data dump, you got to make that call, right? This candle could easily have looked just the opposite and took us right back down to here. So I locked in my profits. They were up nice anyway, right? It could have been way nicer. But I took that risk off the table, and you just got to make that decision for yourself. But as you can see, the jolts would have been in our favor, and it easily sent us to our first major target, and we never looked back almost all the way to 247 before finally kind of topping out in between these GEX levels here. But that is the beauty of these inside days. I don't love taking trades off the open, but lately they've been working, especially on the PEG second day continuation trades and inside days that are opening near one side of their range. If you have the bullish thesis, you'd buy calls here. If you had a bearish thesis, you'd look for a pop below on this momentum to maybe break down and you take puts there. But that's just the beauty of the inside day setup and all the different ways you can execute it. If you haven't, check out my inside day masterclass video for more information on those. Let's talk SPY. SPY was, a lot of people probably think it was a mess today, and it kind of was, but there's a way to navigate these type of days, these choppy days. And I'm going to talk about how to do that. First, let's look at the daily, because what I want to talk about is, when you can kind of see days like this coming, okay? The market doesn't move in just straight up lines, straight up down all the time, right? And if you look back recently, we had a big drawdown and we're just coming towards the end of a huge rally up, right? What happens after moves like this? You get periods of consolidation. You can already see it starting on the daily. We don't know how long this is going to last. We could break out of it tomorrow. We don't know what side we're going to break out of. We could start heading back down. We could make new highs. But it reminds me a lot of the last time we topped out around 460 in this zone right here. So just like for visuals, look at this zone, right? We came on a huge uptrend and then we started getting into this kind of range bound area before selling it off, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that in a similar look here on the daily that we're going to sell off. We could, right? We don't know. We got to kind of watch volume and other things and look at flow and a lot of other factors to try to, if we want to try to make a guess about that, an educated guess about that. But I'm more so illustrating this because when you're day trading, it's good to kind of know what your macro conditions are. When you're in these moves here, you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to be more aggressive playing breakouts, playing continuation moves. When you start to get into areas like this or like this part of the chart, right? Or this part of the chart. And there's so many different there's so many different little pauses, right? There's the consolidation, the break, the consolidation, the break, the consolidation, the breakdown, consolidation, breakdown, consolidation, bounce out. So we're in one right now. And when you start to notice that on the chart, maybe it's smart to come into the day thinking, okay, I'm going to play more range type trades, pulls to support, rejections of resistance, shorting the tops, buying the bottoms, and not try to play so many breakouts and not expect so much range, not expect big continuation trades and things like this. So when you come into the day kind of leaning like that, what's the best types of tools and strategies to use? Well, my two favorite things for day trading just in general, but especially in conditions like this, are intraday Fibonacci retracements and fair value gaps or imbalances or inefficiencies or whatever you want to call them. And these tools, especially combined sometimes, and I'll show you that, can really take a day that a lot of people are struggling with, getting chopped up, and just make it clear as day what you should be doing and when you're scalping, okay? So first things first, we start the day off in a nice uptrend. We get the big move from jolts here, this huge candle. And at this point, it's time to draw your first intraday fib. Now, I don't try to jump in. I already told you how I cut a lot of my Tesla early because of jolts and I didn't want to eat a nasty candle. I don't take a bunch of unnecessary risk like that when I trade. I don't take gamble trades. I don't try to predict news drops and things like this. Yeah, when you get them right, they pay, but how often do you really get them right? It's not reliable. Yeah, it's fun to flash the 200% Weeble card that you made in 3 minutes, but It's just not sustainable, okay? But this is sustainable, okay? Waiting for the big move, drawing the fib, and looking for a pullback into the golden zone, all right? Now, even better, on this candle here, what do we got? A big FVG, right? Look at the volume, okay? Fair value gap. What do? You find the previous candle's high. In this case, because it's a bullish move, previous candle's high, following candle's low. Bullish FVG, color green. Now, when you have a FVG in a golden zone of an intraday fib, that's what I call a glory hole. And not the, prettiest name ever, but it's funny, it's memorable, and it works. So you can see here that we start dipping into this and we pop out and we dip in one more time and fully fill it this time. And look at that wick. Now you can wait, you can get in whenever you want, right? I love the 618. So I was waiting for more of this candle here and this fill. Okay. It's actually a little torn down. Now, price coming up, dips into it. You could get in here, and if you're playing the chart, you're still in, even though you get this nice pop, probably took some profits, maybe got a little scared here as we wicked down. But man, look at that buy up on volume. That's that FVG filling, right? And you got the 618 intraday right there as well. And you can see that we made fresh highs on the day off that. If you got in on this big wick down and where the FVG filled, then you got yourself a nice $2 move. And on a day with only about $3 of range, a $2 move is great, okay? Now, we could also use the FVGs for puts or more calls, right? Look at, where's our next FVG on the 5-minute? This candle right here, okay? So same idea, except this is a bearish FVG. Find the previous candle's low, following candle's high, because now we're bearish. Draw it red. But I need to redraw my intraday fib, right? Because we made fresh highs. So we're going back to the low, drawing the fib. I just keep this up all day on SPY, okay? Now, big move down, right? If you weren't in puts up here, maybe you tried to chase this candle. Maybe you caught it and maybe you made some money. Again, I don't trade like that. I don't try to chase big candles and guess things. I wait for setups that I know work, that I can just be patient, and they come to me, okay? So, 2 options here. Really, 3 options. You could look to go long on the next retest of the 618 with the attempt to fill this FVG, or you could wait for price to come back here and go short again, or you could do both. If you really want to get crazy and aggressive and change sides every 15 to 30 minutes, you can do that, and you could have done it today and made a lot of money. And you're going to see more and more examples like this. So, big sell-off candle. But right where we're back to the 618 into the golden zone. And buyers, look at volume, okay? Huge candle, good volume. But the next candle is almost the same volume and green. Buyers stepping in here, pushing back, and we fill the FVG. Now, once this FVG is filled, there's a good chance we're going to head back down. This is what's great about these FVGs. They work both ways, just like fibs. The 618 can be where you look for a pullback to enter, and it could also be a place where you target for calls. Like, so for instance, if you wanted to draw a shorter time frame fib here, and because you got in down here, you'd be looking to start trimming your positions at the golden zone. So here's the 50, and look right where we stopped out, right in the middle of the 50 and the 618 at our previous day's closing price. They work both ways, and they work so good together, right? Now, what else do we have? Another FVG. Now, if you've seen my video on FVGs, what am I looking for? Obviously, the big candle with very little wick and volume that's relatively high compared to the previous candle or a couple candles. We had that there. We had that there. We had that there. Okay? So, same exact idea. We just keep making new FVGs, but we never lose the golden zone. Here's the 786. If you're new to fibs, The 786 is kind of like your last stop in the golden zone. Golden zone is 50, 618, 786. Once you get a close below the 786, your longs would be invalidated, right? So if you're playing calls here and you come up, you could take some profit. You're probably going to get scared out here, but you don't need to because it doesn't ever close below. Look at all day, right? Just keeps bouncing. But new FVG filled here, okay? And this one starts to fill before you even really have to draw a box. So when I see the big candle like this, I don't even need to draw a box all the time. What I'll just do is say, okay, I know where it fills at, right? And I'll just make the red line. So I know, like, if this flushes again, and I want to go long again at the 786, I want to target this level for my calls. But where do we go? Right to it. And then we kind of stall out again. Magic, right? No, it's not magic. It's liquidity. And it's proven. And it's repeatable. And it's back testable. Okay? Then we come down, we flush again. But where do we bounce? The 786 again. And back up. This is a large dark pool area, by the way, that I've been keeping an eye on for a few days because I'm trying to decide and trying to figure out if it's bullish or bearish. And there's a lot of games being played. And I think it's going to be a very pivotal spot to decide if, in that box I drew on the daily earlier, we're going to break out to the upside or to the downside. But guys, this is how I traded SPY today. Just nailing FVG after FVG back into the golden zone, back into the golden zone. And this will work a lot of days when you're in these kind of consolidation phases on your more macro timelines, like we talked about on the daily. Okay. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, just leave a comment or find me on Twitter and I'll help you out.